Thank you very much, Presiding Officer. Like other speakers, I would like to begin by giving my thanks to the clerks in particular. I've probably caused them more late nights and problems than anyone else from stage 1 through stage 2, maybe not quite at stage 3. But I'm conscious that giving the clerks more work then has consequences for not only fellow members of the committee, but perhaps also for the Bill team. And I apologise to the Bill team for all the work that I've caused them. But I think collectively we have substantially improved the bill. It's going to be very interesting, I think, in the next couple of days to see the amended version of the bill as it will be once it's approved, and make the comparison with the bill as originally drafted. And I think it will be a measure of how far we've come to actually make the comparison from the beginning to the end, to see what additional things have been put in, and the way in which the bill has been adapted, and I believe genuinely improved. And I think people on all sides would accept that there has been a substantial improvement. I think, reflecting on that, it's a great compliment to the way in which the committee system in this Parliament works and the way in which it differs from the Westminster system. Bills in this place go to a specialist committee where people have a background and interest in the work of the committee and build up an area of expertise. I'm not saying that we're all experts, but it's very difficult for ministers in that context to bring us information and not expect the committee members to ask them difficult questions from time to time, and in fact to ask them very difficult questions a fair point of the time. And I think it's a compliment to the government as well that the makeup of the Transport and Infrastructure and Climate Change Committee is such that the government is numerically weak in that position. Labour had a larger number of members of that committee than the SNP did. And I think, as well as presenting the government with a set of problems which I think Mr Stevenson and his SNP colleagues quitted very well, it also posed a responsibility on Labour members, to which I hope we responded by being constructive. And I do think that the whole process that we went through was one to do with persuasion. And I have to say to Liam MacArthur and to Alison McInnes that in some ways the problem that they might experience with the bill was that some of the things they picked to persuade us on, they didn't successfully persuade us on. And that I think, is maybe an issue that they need to reflect on. And I think all of us need to actually focus on the need to be able to persuade other people around the issues that they're trying to bring forward. I didn't persuade people of all the things that I wanted, all the changes I wanted to see in the bill, or indeed my party colleagues did. But I think we made very significant changes. And we did that not by saying we are right and you are wrong, but saying how can we take this forward in a way that really does improve the bill. And not just the bill, because Malcolm Chisholm is absolutely right. This is not the end of a process. It's actually the beginning of the process of implementation. Setting a target can only be meaningful if we also set a range of policy priorities which are consistent with the objectives set out in the bill. And I have to say, the one point where I perhaps see Mr Swinney's comments as jarring a wee bit is that he does seem to see 42% as 34% if the Europeans give in and agree to something. I don't see where we've got to as that. I think that what the Parliament is asking, what Scotland wants of the government, is not to say 34% is as far as we can go. I think what we need to say is what other things can we do, what other additional cost-effective measures can be brought in, what policy proposals are there on the table that we have to review in order to move towards a higher target. If the question is, as was put to David Kennedy last week, is the 2020 target level set in the bill inappropriate, he's likely to say, well, yes, 34% is fine. If the question is, what additional things can we do that will actually drive that target up, then I think we're going to end up with a different answer. And I have to say, I think the onus is on the government to come forward with policy proposals that can drive up the potential of Scotland to achieve climate change reduction. And it's the question to what our potential is and what we can do to achieve that I think is the question that we want the UK Climate Committee to answer. I believe this is a good bill. It's not as good, perhaps, as it could be. There may be things that can be improved in it, but I think it's a solid foundation. But we do have to drive it forward in real terms by engaging people, by acting in a way that's going to deliver the objectives we set out. Thank you, Presiding Officer.